Wait, don't move past this yet. There's something you need to hear, something most men go their entire lives without being told. You've been misinterpreting her signals this whole time. Not because you lack intelligence, not because you're not paying attention, but because no one ever showed you how women actually communicate attraction. That single gap in your understanding has quietly cost you more than you know. Stay with me, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you precisely what you've been walking past without seeing. By the time this is over, you'll know 8 distinct signs that a woman is powerfully drawn to you, even when everything on the surface suggests otherwise. And I'm going to show you something that goes even further than that. I'm going to explain why the most genuinely magnetic men are almost always the last to recognize it in themselves. But first, I want to ask you something real. Have you ever stepped into a room and felt completely unseen? Have you replayed a conversation afterward, turning it over in your mind, wondering whether the connection was real or imagined? Have you caught yourself quietly thinking, maybe I'm just not that kind of man? If that's where you are, take a breath. What you're about to hear may reframe years of experience in a completely new light. The men who question themselves most deeply are often the very men women feel most drawn to. Not because of ego, not because of how they look, because of something far more powerful: presence. And we're going to break that down in full detail. If this channel is new to you, subscribe now. These conversations are built for men who are genuinely ready to see themselves with clarity. Don't miss what comes next. What most men were never taught about how women experience attraction. Here's the foundational truth. Women and men do not experience attraction through the same channel. For a man, attraction tends to feel like momentum. You see someone, something activates, and you think, I want to engage. It's direct. It moves in a straight line. For a woman, attraction begins as heightened awareness. Her first instinct isn't to pursue, it's to observe. She tunes into your energy before she makes any visible move. She watches how you carry yourself. She reads the room around you. She positions, she signals, she does not announce. And if you've been sitting back waiting for her to make her attraction undeniable and obvious, you've been waiting for something that was never going to arrive the way you expected. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful signals that you are a man of genuine attraction, even if you've been doubting that for years. As we move through each one, I want you to bring honest awareness, not from ego, not from insecurity, just from clear-eyed observation. Here's what I want you to watch for. By sign number 5, most men report that something internally shifts. Pay attention, because that shift may happen for you too. Let's go. Sign 1. Sustained eye contact. This is the most universal signal in attraction, and the one men overlook most consistently. Here's how it shows up. You're somewhere unremarkable: a coffee shop, a work event, a social gathering. Your eyes meet hers. And instead of looking away the way strangers normally do, she holds it just a fraction longer than feels neutral. There's a pause, brief, charged, and then she looks away. Most men write that off as nothing, but psychologically, that additional second carries enormous weight. Research on nonverbal communication shows that extended eye contact stimulates emotional arousal, increases perceived closeness, and signals that you've been genuinely registered in someone's awareness. We do not invest that kind of sustained attention in people who don't interest us. The nervous system simply doesn't work that way. Here's the detail most men never catch. She looks back. That second glance isn't accidental. it's confirmation. Think about your own behavior. When something doesn't register with you, you barely clock it. When something does, you look again. You verify what you felt. She's doing the exact same thing. The first glance is curiosity. The second is a small, quiet act of courage. She's asking, without words, "Did you notice me?" Confidence in that moment isn't about intensity or staring. It's about soft steadiness, a calm hold, a slight ease in your expression. If this has happened to you, you are not invisible. Stay with me, because sign 3 is the one most men walk right past, and once you recognize it, you'll start catching it everywhere. Sign 2, proximity. Men who carry genuine presence create what I'd describe as a gravitational field. You may have noticed women naturally gravitating into the space around you, joining a group you're already part of, selecting the seat beside you when other spots were available, entering a conversation you were already having. That is not coincidence. That is positioning. Women rarely pursue in a direct, linear way, but they absolutely engineer opportunity. From a psychological standpoint, proximity is itself a form of bonding. Studies on the mere exposure effect demonstrate that shared physical space builds positive emotional association over time. She is deliberately increasing the probability of connection. She is placing herself inside your orbit. I once worked with a man in his early 60s who felt largely overlooked. At his regular coffee spot, the same woman had sat near him on 3 separate occasions. He chalked it up to habit or available seating. It wasn't either. The moment he moved from passive self-doubt to conscious awareness and began engaging with quiet, grounded confidence, the entire dynamic shifted. Presence accumulates. Awareness responds to awareness. Sign 3. The room gets quieter when you speak. Have you ever noticed side conversations tapering off when you begin talking? Have you watched people physically orient their bodies in your direction without thinking about it? That is presence in action. And presence is one of the most underestimated forms of attraction that exists. Psychologists refer to this as the halo effect. When someone is perceived as high value, we unconsciously grant them our attention, our patience, and our approval. This quality becomes even more pronounced with age. Youth demands attention. Maturity earns it. You don't need to fill a room with volume. You need to be fully anchored in it. Try this deliberately. Slow your delivery. Lower your register. Allow intentional silence before you respond. Silence is not a vacuum, it draws. It amplifies attention rather than breaking it. If you've ever experienced that quiet authority where you're not reaching for the room, but the room comes to you, that magnetism is already yours. Quick pause. If this is landing for you, subscribe now. Every week, we go deep into the psychology of attraction, masculine presence, and what it genuinely takes to thrive in this chapter of life. You don't want to miss what's coming, especially signs 5 and 7. Sign 4, mirroring. This one is subtle, but it's one of the most telling signals available. Mirroring occurs when someone unconsciously reflects your physical behavior. You ease back in your chair, she eases back in hers. You slow your speech, her pace adjusts to match. You touch your jaw briefly, a few moments later, she mirrors the gesture. This is not imitation. It is nervous system synchronization. When we feel genuinely safe in someone's presence and drawn to them, our physiology begins to move in harmony with theirs. Mirror neurons in the brain activate in response to people we feel emotionally connected to. It is biological rapport made visible. If you notice a woman tracking your movements, matching your rhythm, or settling into your conversational pace, her nervous system is communicating one thing clearly: I feel secure here. And for women, emotional safety comes before desire. It is the ground desire grows from. Here's a subtle technique worth trying. Gently echo one small element of her posture. Not dramatically, just a small, quiet reflection. Notice how the connection deepens without a single word being exchanged. Attraction is rarely loud. It is layered. It is energetic. Now we move into territory that goes beneath body language. Sign 5 is the one that surprises men most, because on the surface it sounds like a simple compliment, but it's something far more significant than that. Sign 5. Her compliments reach past the surface. If a woman tells you that you look sharp today, that's a surface-level observation. Physical assessments happen quickly, almost reflexively, within the first few seconds. But when a woman says something like, "There's something different about your energy," or "I feel genuinely at ease around you," that is a fundamentally different kind of signal. She is describing your presence, not your appearance, your presence. Research consistently shows that emotional safety and authentic engagement are the most powerful predictors of deep, lasting attraction. When a woman tells you she feels comfortable in your company, she is telling you that her nervous system settles in your presence. That is magnetic on a level that no physical quality can replicate. I once worked with a man in his late 50s, a widower, quiet by nature, not flashy or loud. But women kept returning to the same observation. "You're so easy to talk to." He assumed it was politeness. It wasn't. He listened without performing. He didn't rush to fill silence. He didn't try to impress. His calm created a kind of emotional anchor that women rarely encounter. He believed himself to be ordinary. They experienced him as grounding. Those are two completely different things. The next time someone compliments your steadiness, your energy, your way of being, don't deflect it. Simply receive it. Say, "That means a lot. Thank you." Confidence deepens when you stop reflexively pushing away evidence of your own value. Sign 6. You notice eyes finding you across the room. Repeated glances, brief, instinctive assessments, eye contact from a distance, more than once. Here's what's actually unfolding. Human beings are hardwired to scan their environment for social value. We instinctively register individuals who project composure, intentionality, or distinct energy. This has nothing to do with physical perfection. It has everything to do with presence. When you walk into a space and something subtly shifts, when someone looks your way and quickly redirects, when eye contact across a room happens more than once, that is recognition. That is your presence being registered before you've said a single word. Most men miss this entirely because they're waiting for something unmistakable. But genuine attraction almost never arrives with a spotlight. It shows up as tracking behavior. Here's something you can practice immediately. The next time you walk into any public space, resist the pull of your phone or the habit of looking at the floor. Shoulders relaxed, head level, unhurried steps. Let your gaze move through the room with calm ease. Then simply observe. You may be genuinely surprised how often awareness rises to meet awareness. Sign 7. Pay attention to how other men treat you. This one operates on a level most people never consciously register, but women notice it constantly. Men are biologically wired to assess status. It's ancient and instinctive. And the way other men respond to you in social settings sends a signal to women that no amount of charm or physical appearance can manufacture on its own. Signs of respect from other men look like this. They don't cut you off when you're speaking. They seek your perspective. They introduce you to others with warmth. They yield in small but noticeable ways. Signs of quiet competition look different. One-upmanship. Sudden attempts to dominate when a woman enters the space. Thinly veiled put-downs framed as jokes. Dismissiveness. Both reactions signal something important. Respect says you are recognized. Competition says you are perceived as a genuine contender. From an evolutionary standpoint, social proof is one of the heaviest influencers of attraction. When other men respond to you as someone of value, women absorb that assessment almost automatically, not intellectually, but instinctively. And here's the part that matters most. The most compelling men never fight for status. They embody it quietly. True confidence doesn't escalate, it stabilizes. When the pressure rises in a group, do you get louder to hold your ground, or do you stay rooted? If men around you respond with either genuine respect or subtle competition, you are a factor in the room, and women are paying closer attention than you realize. We're nearly at the final sign, the one that restructures everything about how you show up. But before we get there, if this is resonating, subscribe and hit the bell. These conversations go deep, and I don't want you missing a single one. Sign 8. Women assume you're already chosen. You'll hear comments like, "I can't believe you're still single," or "I'm sure you have no shortage of attention." These remarks surface early, often before any real depth of connection has been established. Why? Because you carry an energy that doesn't broadcast need. Desperation has a very specific psychological signature. It shows up as over-explaining, over-texting, seeking constant reassurance, chasing affirmation at every turn. An abundance energy looks entirely different. It's patient, it's measured. It doesn't rush intimacy. It doesn't attach to outcomes. Women are exquisitely attuned to the difference between scarcity and abundance, and they feel it long before they can articulate it. If she senses that you are fundamentally at peace with yourself, whether she chooses you or not, she experiences you as higher value. And here's the quiet irony. You may not have multiple options in reality, but if you carry yourself as someone who moves through the world with discernment, people assume you do. Perception shapes experience. When a woman believes you are desired, she becomes more curious about why. So let me ask you directly. Do you behave like someone grateful for whatever comes along? Or like someone who chooses carefully and deliberately? That question alone has the power to shift your entire dynamic. Why your brain works against you. Here is a paradox I've observed across decades of studying human behavior. The men who are genuinely attractive are overwhelmingly the least aware of it. And the reason is this. Most men were conditioned to evaluate themselves through visible, measurable outcomes. Did she say yes? Did she pursue? Did she make it unmistakably clear? When the answer wasn't explicit, they concluded, failure. But a woman's attraction doesn't function like a scoreboard. It functions like a current, quiet, responsive, energetic. And if you were raised to see only the surface, you may have moved through years surrounded by genuine interest you never once recognized. Let me tell you about a man I'll call Daniel, 64 years old, divorced for 7 years. He'd fully convinced himself that women had simply moved on from him. He described himself as background presence in every room. But when we examined his actual experiences, a completely different picture came into focus. Women at his gym consistently positioned themselves near him. A barista had memorized his name and leaned in when she spoke to him. At community events, women laughed easily around him and asked thoughtful follow-up questions. He discarded all of it because none of it was direct. He was holding out for unmistakable pursuit. What he hadn't recognized was that his unhurried calm, his genuine pauses, his grounded way of holding space, these were quietly magnetic. But because he didn't feel it internally, he filtered every external signal out. This is confirmation bias in action. Your mind searches for evidence that confirms what you already believe and quietly discards everything that contradicts it. If you believe you're not attractive, you will genuinely fail to perceive the signs that you are. The work, then, is not about your appearance. It's not about your age. It is internal. And here is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Your self-concept can be updated, not through arrogance, through awareness. 3 exercises to begin right now. Exercise 1. The Evidence Journal. Each evening this week, write down one moment of positive social feedback from your day. A genuine smile, a glance held a second too long, someone leaning in when you spoke, a warm exchange with a stranger. Don't analyze it, don't minimize it, simply record it. Over time, your mind begins accumulating counter-evidence to the old narrative. New patterns form. Your self-concept begins to update. Exercise 2. Nervous system regulation. Before entering any social environment, take 3 controlled breaths. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. Soften your jaw. Drop your shoulders. This simple practice shifts your physiology from a state of threat response into a state of open engagement. When your body is regulated, your presence changes, and people register that shift before you've said a word. Exercise 3. Reclaiming past evidence. Identify 3 moments in your life where a woman showed unmistakable interest, even if it never developed into a relationship. Write them down. Then ask yourself, what was I embodying in those moments? Were you relaxed, focused, not performing? Attraction arises most naturally when you're simply being yourself without self-surveillance. That version of you, that's who women respond to. The shift that changes everything. When you stop asking whether you're attractive, a completely different question begins to take its place. Instead of, I hope she's interested in me, you begin asking, does she align with what I'm genuinely looking for? That single shift rebalances the entire dynamic. When a man evaluates with calm discernment rather than seeking approval, his energy stabilizes. The grasping falls away, the urgency dissolves, and in its place, grounded curiosity. That quality, more than any tactic, invites genuine connection. Let me paint the picture clearly. You walk into a room, shoulders relaxed, gaze steady, not scanning with desperation, just taking in the space with awareness. You greet the people you know. You invest fully in one real conversation. You laugh genuinely. You excuse yourself when the moment is right, without clinging to the interaction. And across the room, quietly, someone notices. She feels the absence of need. She observes how others respond to you. She sees that you are not reaching for attention. And gradually, not dramatically, not with fireworks, she begins to find her way closer. This is how attraction actually moves. Not through grand announcements. Quietly, steadily, with unmistakable power. And you will walk right past it if you're still waiting for something obvious. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final question. If you genuinely believed, not just hoped, but knew, that you were attractive, not only in appearance, but in energy and presence, how would you carry yourself differently tomorrow? Would you engage more calmly? Hold your gaze a moment longer? Stop second-guessing the interactions that went well? That shift begins the moment you decide it does. Attraction is not something you chase, it is something you become. And once you understand that, you stop wondering where you stand. You simply stand, rooted, clear, and the right person will feel it. If something in this conversation landed differently for you, like this video. Not for the algorithm, but as a quiet signal to yourself that you're ready to see things more clearly. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Every week, we go deep into emotional intelligence, masculine presence, and what it truly means to thrive in this chapter of your life. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of the 8 signs hit you the hardest. Was it the sustained eye contact? The gravitational pull of proximity? The way rooms quiet when you speak? Or sign 8, the assumption that you're already chosen? Tell me. I read every single one. Because your awareness might be exactly what another man needs to encounter today.